cybersecurity for development for Africa, development in the fourth industrial revolution. It becomes clearer that the rate at which cybersecurity impacts on the development of an economy continues to grow rapidly. The importance of online security is made evident as there is a huge increase in the investment and adoption of technology and the internet, most especially in sectors like health, commerce, finance, agriculture, education, etc. And the such exponential growth can only be sustained when there is an assurance of the same measure of safety, transparency, and accountability. The research, which was conducted in 40 African nations, including 12 from West Africa, which I'm privileged to be the head at this in AFICTA, showed that an increase of cybersecurity maturity by 10% yields between 0.6% and 5.4% increase in per capita GDP in Africa. That's magnificent, considering the fact that Africa is supposed to be at the back end of digital initiative among all the other continents because of our broadband penetration and digital low startup. It was noted that the higher a nation's cybersecurity maturity, the lower the cyber financial loss per capita. Data from sample size of the 40 nations under review also show that a 10% rise in internet penetration enables between 1% and 8.2% increase in GDP per capita. That's substantive in Africa. Okay. The report also indicated that Africa's cybersecurity maturity is 29.1% compared to that of Latin America and Asia and the Middle East at 35.6% and 61% respectively. So you can imagine while we're trying to obtain between 1.1% and 8.2%, Asia and Middle East are operating between at 61%. That's a bit daunting for us to manage, but we begin from somewhere. We're at 8.2% and we can always get there. The more we have webinars like this with industrial experts coming together to meet minds on prospects, we are definitely getting a step ahead. The 11th quarterly e-conference of AFICTA, Africa ICT Alliance, would examine cybersecurity in West Africa, exploring the UNECA insight, whereby the discussion is geared towards the importance of one, awareness creation. So we're going to be tasking those of us that are participating after listening to the panelists. We're going to be tasking each and one of us to please join in the creation of awareness in our domains and subdomains. The second point we're trying to take a look at is investing heavily in cybersecurity architecture. In our various engagements as consultant or as enabler, we need to invest heavily in cybersecurity architecture. The third point we're looking at is encouraging cybersecurity career uptake. How many of our mentees or members of our associations are we encouraged to pick up cybersecurity as a career? IT is, as an enabler, will always be growing, but at the same time, we need to encourage as many people to select cybersecurity as option out of all the IT possible careers. The fourth one is promoting cybersecurity best practices. As individual experts among ourselves, how much best practice do we encourage to put in place in our various engagements? And number 5, we will conduct regular cybersecurity training so that we can have as many people empowered as possible that are practicing the profession and career in cybersecurity. And lastly, but definitely not the least, number 6 is managing or reporting breaches when they happen. So having set that tone in introducing what we will be discussing at this webinar, it will be my pleasure to please welcome the chairman of AFICTA to deliver a welcome address, as well as give a brief insight to the webinar. Mr. Tabo, please.
Thank you. Much appreciated for those warm words and highly insightful statistics around the topic itself. Good morning and good day to some of the people, depending on where you are within the continent. My name is Thabo Mashikwane. I'm a chairman in AFICTA. And welcome to today's webinar on cybersecurity in West Africa, exploring the UNECA insight. That is the topic of the day. It is a topic that actually lies in the core of a lot of challenges that we've got with regards to the journey that we are on, and also the vision that as AFICTA we've got, which articulates that we want to actually make the digital promise to be delivered to everyone in Africa. And it is within that context, and the context that digital transformation, as it were, it has been uptaken by almost a lot of people since the pandemic, and our focus and vision is that the numbers will grow. And while the numbers are growing, we have to note that this is where we are going to have a lot of cybersecurity challenges happening within countries and also impacting people directly. So last year, there was this study that was done, and it will focus on West Africa. However, we have to give our commendation to UNECA as well as Dr. Jimson, who was very pivotal in doing this study. And with the study, you will see that there is a lot of correlation when it comes to cybersecurity as well as GDP of the countries. It is actually moving towards the same correlations that you will see with countries when you talk about crime versus GDP. You will see that there is a lot of importance of the cybersecurity topic when it comes to economies of countries. And I would like that as people who are here in this webinar, we engage and share our perspectives and also learn from what we will hear from the panelists. From AFICTA side, I would like to extend our gratitude and also to welcome you into this session and enjoy the session while you actually learn and participate and sharing your insights from your side. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Thabo, the chairman of AFICTA. Thank you for the resounding welcome address. I would have loved to call the webinar chair for the good news message. Do we have Dr. Sakana now?
Dr. Makta Sheikh is in the house, yes.
Yes,
thank you.
I'm online.
Thank you.
Online.
So, Dr. Makta Sheikh, you're welcome. It's our pleasure to welcome and introduce you as the chair, the webinar chair. I need to remind our participants that you are the Chief of Section Technology and Innovations at UNECA. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much for this invitation, and it is a great honor and privilege for me to welcome you on behalf of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, to this this webinar. I think it is very important in the context of the Africa digital agenda, how to use digital technology to achieve the sustainable development goal, as well as the aspiration of the Agenda 2060 from African Union. As you know, the United Nations has continued to take cybersecurity seriously through various initiatives. And more recently, I can highlight some initiatives like the UN Ad hoc Committee to elaborate a comprehensive international convention on the country, the use of ICT for criminal purpose. Also, the importance, the United Secretary General Roadmap for Digital Cooperation has also emphasized the importance of cybersecurity in the world. The United Nations group of experts have also emphasized that security, trust, and stability in the cyberspace is invaluable for ensuring inclusive participation in the cyberspace. This shows how cybersecurity is important for the UN system. When we come to Africa, as you know, we have adopted the digital transformation strategy for Africa since 2020. It is a digital transformation strategy for 2030 to 2020-2030. And within this digital transformation strategy, cybersecurity is an important pillar. As you know, cybersecurity is a core to achieve digital transformation. And we need to ensure safe and inclusive digital transformation, especially with existing initiatives in the continent, such as the African Continent Free Trade Area, the digital single market, the single African transport market, as well as in the policy and the regulatory initiative for the Digital Africa PRIDA. I think you highlight a little bit more the current situation of the cybersecurity in the continent. As you know, cybersecurity costs 10% of the Africa GDP, is why UNECA is working closely with several partners on the cybersecurity agenda. Recently, we have adopted the cybersecurity model guideline mode to help African countries to develop or to update their legislation on cybersecurity. Also, we are supporting African countries to implement the Malabo Convention, focus on enhancing cybersecurity in the African region through collaboration with key partners, regional economic communities, and member states, as well as in private sector. And I think this webinar, it is very important to in the work of UNECA. It is a contribution to support African members to how to mitigate the cyber crime in their respective country as well in the whole continent. ECA also is working with the government of Togo to establish an African Center on Cybersecurity following the recommendation of the Africa Summit in Cybersecurity held last year in Togo. And the key outcome was a Lomé Declaration on cybersecurity. And this workshop also is in line with this Lomé Declaration in terms of capacity building on sensitization member state on how cybersecurity is very important, as well private sector and academia. And I wish you very good, fruitful discussion. And I will ensure ECA will take note of the several recommendations issued from this webinar to see how they can fit on our work program to continue our support to member state to safeguard the digital era in order to take the maximum benefits of the digital technology for achievement of sustainable development goal in the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Over to you.
Thank you so very much for your brief but very succinct contribution. I'm going to jump in quickly because of time to introduce our speakers. I want to listen to our FICTA chair and the webinar chair. I will quickly introduce our speakers and we quickly go into the webinar proper. I hope our speakers are ready so that I will begin to introduce you. He's got more than 30 years experience in the national, regional, and global information communication technology industry. He's a chairman and principal consultant at Contemporary Consulting Limited, an ICT solution company based in Abuja, Nigeria. He's also the founder and first chairman of the concerned private sector-led and over 35 nations strong Africa Sector Alliance. It was chaired between 2012 at founding till 2018, and he's currently the chair of the Advisory Council of Africa. He has distinguished himself at the United Nations Commission for Science and Technology for Development Working Group on Improvement to the Internet Governance Forum, and on the Working Group on enhanced cooperation on public policy matters pertaining to the internet between 2010 and 2018 as one of the 5 global business representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, on this webinar, permit me to introduce to you Dr. Jameson Olufere. So you can use your, if you can, I know you can clap, you can clap anyway, but if you can't clap, you can use those clap emojis on the chat group for you to clap. Thank you so much. You're welcome, Dr. Lewis. Can we say hello? Can we say hi from you and a wave, please, Dr. Jameson? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Currently, the MT Ghana Security Head and the Senior Manager for Enterprise Information Security and Governance is with us. She has over 15 years of industry experience in cybersecurity, governance, risk, and compliance, with a track record of leading and creating value through the successful implementation of information security management systems in relation to business strategy. She is a driven and tenacious leader with an open and direct style of communication. She is passionate about empowering the younger generation of women, particularly in the ICT space, through mentoring. And this is to create a legacy of confident, self-assured female leaders. She's a sought-after international speaker in the cybersecurity and women technology space and has participated in several ICT and female empowerment plenaries in and outside MTN. She is currently serving as a board member of ISACA Ghana, a global association that provides IT professionals with knowledge, credentials, training, and community in audit, governance, risk, privacy, among others, and an advisory board member for IT Web Security Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Ms. Jacqueline. Can we see you wave to us, please, if you're around?
Hi, good morning all. Thank you.
Okay, we can see your face. Can we please welcome with a round of applause, or if you can just wave and show a sign from wherever you are. Okay, thank you. Amongst us again, we have a very passionate personality in terms of global cybersecurity, awareness, and work environment. Is the chairman Consultancy Support Services, CS2 Limited, and founding member, Organization of Islamic Cooperation Computer Emergency Response Team. He's a lead consultant at UNESCO, feasibility study on the development of a virtual library by institution of higher education. It was designed, Nigerian Computer Emergency Readiness and Response Ecosystem, drafted the National IT Policy, ICT for this strategic action plan, former senior special assistant on innovation and technology to the Nigerian National Security Advisor, consultant to the Nigerian Minister of Communication, director of Backbone Connectivity Network Limited, Agda Ajijola Foundation, moderator Interfaith Forum, TV broadcast, traveled extensively and has nurtured strong social capital in the private, public sectors, academia, and the civil society. It's a pleasure as I welcome Abdulhakeem Ajijola.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We can see your voice. I can see your voice, but I can't hear your face.
I can.
Now I can hear your face. It's a pleasure to see you.
Good morning. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right. A couple of years ago, around about 15 years ago, somebody was in my office and we're discussing something about global cyberspace. And I must confess, that was the first time I was getting detail about what the global space was in terms of cyberspace. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce the coordinator of NACSIMA Digital Economic Group, the president Global Network for Cyber Solution, a premier private sector-led cybersecurity nonprofit organization since 2008, and a co-founder, chairman, Data Analytics Privacy Technology Limited, a pioneered FG licensed data protection compliance organization since 2019, and a co-developers of award-winning NDPR 365 SaaS, that is software as an application system. He's a digital policy expert with over 20 years of experience in technology governance, cybersecurity policy, data protection, and privacy regulations, emerging technology, and digital innovation. He co-founded Araba Technologies Limited and the International Center for Emerging Technology, ICT, within Federal University of Technology, MENA. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to welcome Segun H. Olugbele. Are you around, please? If you're here, let's see you.
Good morning, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Thank you, please. It's a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, for me to welcome a wonderful personality, a consulting director and one of the founders of Qualities Consulting, a management and IT consulting firm based in Senegal, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, Togo, Mauritius, and the USA. He's an experienced professional in enterprise and IT architecture, business process improvement, and digital transformation. He works in a complex and challenging environment with diverse teams to design, establish, and improve processes for achieving business objectives. With diverse experience in various frameworks and standards, including Lean Six Sigma, ITIL, COVID, CMMI, TOGAF, BABOK, PMBOK, and many ISO standards. He has more than 80 years of experience with more than 10 ICT and management consultants in corporate and ICT governance implementation, ICT strategy development, business process analysis, ICT project management implementation, IT service management and functions, restructuring, information security and risk management, governance, and ICT capacity building. My friend and my brother, I welcome Eric Coam. Are you here with us, please? Please, a round of applause as we welcome him. Can we see your face, please? Where are you are you with us?
Yes, you can see his face. And his
Yeah,
chest.
Eric, I can see where you're hiding. The next person I'm introducing, a wonderful brother who replaced me as I was stepping out at a particular assignment. He's the founder and president of the E-Governance and Internet Governance Foundation for Africa. He leads his team to organize the annual Ghana School of Internet Governance Fellowship since inception in the year 2020. He's also an African representative to ICANN at Large Advisory Committee. He is also the vice chair of the Communications Working Group of the Universal Acceptance Steering Group. He holds a MSc Information Security from the Luleå University of Technology in Sweden. It's a pleasure to welcome my friend, Raymond Selom Mamata. Where are you, please? Can we see you? Wave to us.
Hi, everyone. Raymond
here.
here.
I can see you, Raymond. You're welcome. It's a pleasure to see you around. And lastly, but not the least, a very good friend, a co-traveler that's we've been privileged to traverse across the continent in the spirit of developing the African digital divide. Is with about 10 years of experience in IT security field. Okay. Is currently the CEO and founder of Diamond Security Consulting, founded in 2012. Diamond Security Consulting provides ICT security services and solutions with customers in bank, telecom, construction, and IT sectors. In the last 3 years, it was in charge of Open Web Application Security Project chapter in Cote d'Ivoire. He started his career as a CISA Cote d'Ivoire Computer Emergency Response Team as project manager of National Web Application Security Statistics. The team main mission was to perform penetration testing on web application of Ivorian company partner with CSAT. He joined after Sion Systems and IT security analyst in charge of the training of the security audit team and penetration testing. Members at the webinar, I welcome with pleasure my friend and brother, Laikana Koulibaly. Can we have a round of applause? Where are you, Laikana?
I'm there.
It's a pleasure to see you. Okay, without much ado, we'll quickly just jump into the reason why we're here today. the whole essence is for us to meet minds and make our contribution into building a very strong digital divide, digital presence across Africa. AFICTA is at its inception, the purpose of our coming together was to ensure that we pull together professionals across private, government, individuals, as long as we are promoting the digital space across Africa. You are welcome on board. And we're sending this strong signal to those of us present at the webinar to please sell the message across our colleagues that there is an organization that is assisting every one of us to promote our digital divide. In the course of doing so, we patronize each other. We encourage each other to cross borders to provide services across the continent. I, by privilege, head West Africa, and it will be my pleasure that after this webinar, we're able to have a cross-fertilization of ideas and business proposition across West African play. I will jump into the first session. And the way we will go through is to have an overview, the policy question introduction. Then we'll have an overview from the consultant behind the research itself. According to the research outcome from this research, Africa's loss to cyber attacks over the period of 2011 just give me a second. I need to quickly adjust something, please. Just sorry, I'll be back in one second.
Okay, maybe Mr. Moderator can just go ahead to speak to the research. Okay, can you hear me? Can anybody just indicate that I can be heard?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So greetings, the chair of this webinar, Dr. Magda Sek of UNECA. Greetings, our chair, UNAFICTA, moderator, fellow panelists, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say thank you to AFICTA for this e-conference series, or webinar series, and indeed to UNECA, represented by Dr. Magda Sek, Chief of Section, Technology and Innovation, for commissioning the first research on cybersecurity for development in the fourth industrial revolution, CD4IR, which is a demonstration of your commitment to boosting Africa's cybersecurity maturity in all ramifications. The report, which is available on the cd4ir.africa URL, showed evidence of positive relationship between cybersecurity and development in the fourth industrial revolution, which commenced in 2011. And the ramifications continue to accelerate geometrically due to broadband engendered Internet of all things and innovations. The research objective was to spot a relationship between cybersecurity maturity and development in the fourth industrial revolution, with the aim of underscoring the connection of cybersecurity maturity to development. The research aim was achieved through, as mentioned earlier by moderator, investigation of cybersecurity gaps in 40 top Internet ranking African countries and 15 top Internet ranking countries in each of Asia, Middle East, and Latin America for continental pairwise data comparison. Some of the yardsticks considered in the analysis included compliance to the World Summit on Information Society action lines and targets of 2003, and the degree of their infrastructure readiness as cybersecurity factor. The WSIS action lines and targets, like connecting all villages, all schools, hospitals, etc., and the degree of their infrastructure readiness directly reflected on the level of Internet penetration and the cybersecurity metrics of the concerned country. Also, factors were the state of citizens' awareness of their roles cybersecurity controls, the presence of recognized professional career paths in cybersecurity, and cybersecurity institutional controls in place, among others. All these ITU Global Cybersecurity Index variables, and we thank them for those data. Data on internet penetration and cybersecurity over the period 2011 to 2021 were analyzed with the GDP data from World Bank Open Data Platform to determine the degree of correlation. The ITU GCI data for the 4 years published, 2014, 2017, 2018, and 2020, were utilized. And for the remaining years where data was not available, the hot deck imputation and the stochastic regression imputation methods, that is considering the data set to be homoscedastic, were used to bridge the gap. And lastly, the Pearson correlation coefficients computation was applied to determine the relationship between the variables, and the closer the variable is to one, the stronger the dependence of one variable to the other. And the relational proportion was calculated over the period in view. And the entire analysis showed that, I don't know if you can see my slide.
No, from my side.
Oh, we can't. It was standing on one slide. If you can maybe progress it, thank you.
We only see the cover, your slide, the first page.
Okay.
It was on and off.
How about now?
Yes, I'm back.
No.
Can you see? Okay.
The share screen is not. Okay, it's coming on.
It's coming. Yes.
Okay, so now.
But
right,
it's not in slides.
Okay.
In presentation mode.
Okay.
Yes, better now.
Now, so the results showed that Africa is the least within the 3 continents considered at 29.1% with regard to regional cybersecurity maturity. Latin America was at 35.6%, and Asia and Middle East 61%. And if you contextualize it to West Africa is 25.7%, which is even lower than the African average of 29.1%. So you can see this, the 12 countries within the 40 countries considered, the cybersecurity maturity from Nigeria to Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria at 58%, Ghana 44.3%, Cote d'Ivoire 39.5%, Benin 34.8%, Burkina Faso 32.3%, Senegal 25.6%, Togo 25.1%, Gambia 17.3%, Sierra Leone 12.7%, Mali, and so on and so forth. And a 10% increase in cybersecurity maturity enables between 0.6%, 66%, and 5.4% increase in GDP per capita. So that relationship was established. And for the countries in West Africa, this is the rough table for it. Well, so if you look at this particular column, you can see my mouse. That is cybersecurity correlation with GDP. So in Benin, we have is 0.9%. So there's a strong correlation between cybersecurity maturity in Benin to their GDP growth. Very strong relationship. In Burkina Faso, 0.6, very good. Cape Verde, well, not so good, which is not so good, 0.1. Cote d'Ivoire, 0.9, very good. Gambia, 0.9, very good. Ghana, 0.8 is good. Guinea-Bissau, good. Mali is positive. But look at Nigeria, is minus 0.3. So I was even amazed when I saw the data at that time. And if you look at Senegal, 0.9, very strong. Sierra Leone, 0, so just neutral. And Togo, 0.3, which is, well, weak positive correlation. So why is that of Nigeria 0.5? This is just by the way, okay? Now, we now went to look at the GDP of Nigeria. In 2014, it was about 546 billion USD. But by 2017, it's gone down to 375. So it's like during the period, Nigeria lost about 170 billion USD from our GDP, about 21%. So that's why there was no correlation. So it went the other way around, which contradicts the trend in other West African countries. But that was what was responsible. Nigeria lost a lot of its GDP funding or income. And last year, this is also, by the way, last year, for the first time, non-oil exports overtook oil, earning from oil, foreign exchange from oil for the very first time. That was last year. So it is back to around 500 billion now, and the trend is continuing. So we'll look at this, permitting the approval by the authorities. We can look at it, analyze it over the next few years. So that is the basic trend. And within West Africa, we have cyber attacks, a lot of cyber attacks, which are about 345 million attacks in West Africa. The whole of Africa is about 872 million. But interesting to know that cyber attack in West Africa is about 40%, of attacks across Africa. And Nigeria is responsible for 99.7% of the West African attack numbers. If you look at the financial losses, cyber attack losses, or financial losses due to cyber attacks within that period, 2011 to 2021, is about 9.4 billion that we lost in West Africa. And financial losses in West Africa, about 51% of Africa total. Ghana, is responsible for 55% of the losses, and Nigeria, 32%. All this data, they are data gotten based on online research, so it's based on data available. So finally, in recommendation, there is a need for cybersecurity policy consistency and dedicated implementation of same in our countries. That is also to say there is need for stable government. Basically, we need to have stable governance. And the West African country at the ECOWAS level should involve a cooperation framework to mitigate cyber risk in the sub-region. They should also assent to the Malabo Convention, as the chair of the webinar, Dr. Maktar mentioned earlier. Effort should be made to fast-track the benefits realization of the African Center for the Coordination and Research in Cybersecurity located in Lomé, Republic of Togo. This is a good development that we have an institutional framework to ensure that we have a kind of synchronized mitigation effort to address the cyber security and cyber crime issue across Africa. So we look forward to the benefit realization of that institution. Then periodic and consistent information system audit should be conducted on enterprise ICT system. This is critical, especially that government processes are being digitalized. There has to be a regular check of all this infrastructure to ensure that they comply to standard. And lastly, cybersecurity awareness and education effort at the enterprise and organizational level should be enhanced. So I want to say thank you very much for listening.
Oh, that was very brief and succinct presentation, Dr. Jimson. I've listened to a couple of your presentations. I want to say this is one of the shortest, but it's short and yet address the subject matter as expected. Thank you for the insight. With that overview, it would be my pleasure to please. Before I move on, let me say I've just gone through the chat messages. I've seen so many important guests on this webinar, some big names, and I will not be able to mention everyone. Just know that I've cited a couple of very industry-based professionals, the big wigs in the industry. I could see a few of them, and I will be able to start calling out the names. I want to appreciate you for attending this webinar. Going straight to the policy questions. According to the research outcome, Africa's loss to cybersecurity, and from one of the presentations, from one of the data Dr. Jameson presented, Africa loss to cyber attacks over the period of 2011 to 2021 was estimated to to about $19 billion compared to that of Asian and Latin America, which stood at $29.5 billion, between $29.5 and $127 billion, respectively, whereas Africa has the lowest cybersecurity maturity. So I had the first question, and Ambassador Olubele, you're at least going to be the one I'll start with. No order of preference, but somehow your name just popped up to my brain. Apologies, but I just want to get you prepared. Your name just popped up my brain, and I want to ask you the first question, please. What are the factors responsible for Africa's lowest loss of revenue to cyber criminals? Does it mean we are doing something right? Are we very good that criminals are not able to penetrate our infrastructure? Over to you. And how do you think they're able to do that? Ambassador Olubele, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Please, can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, that's fine. Let me just please greet our chairman. And I've seen leaders on the charts, the commandant of the DSA, all of that. I'm seeing them here. And I can tell you that what we have started today is actually a very brilliant engagement. But now, responding to the question, and when I was looking, I was listening when Dr. Jameson was giving us the statistics and the analysis, but I got a little bit alarmed when he mentioned about Nigeria being the lowest in terms of the GDP and all that. Then when he also connects that with the rate at which the cyber attack happens in West Africa, we also discovered that Nigeria is on the on the high side. But then one thought that came to my mind has to do with if there are a connection with the right set of data in Nigeria, and if efforts are made on the part of the researcher to assess such data, so that we can have a more institutional data that could really depict more of what Nigeria has done. But now, be as it may, let me respond to what the monitor asked. How can what is it that Nigeria has done in the context of being able to address issues of cyber, attack, whatever? I can tell you that one of the most vibrant countries in Africa, Nigeria has been, I think about a few days back, I saw the recent statistics that Nigeria is the biggest economies in Africa. As of today, it might change tomorrow. Now, when we look at the GDP that actually contributed to that, we might be looking at ICT. ICT has done substantial input, at least at about last year. I think we have close to 16% off in the context of the what ICT has contributed. Within the ICT, we can also look at that in Nigeria. Nigeria has one of the most vibrant financial sector. And when we look at that, I had the opportunity of involved in the Financial Training Institution, FITC, where they had the cybersecurity program. And that engagement gave an insight into what Nigerian financial institutions actually put in place. And one of the first is that internally, many of the operators in Nigeria, but let me use the financial sector as an example, because that is actually the most important sector that impact lives to everybody. We have seen effort in the context of the investment, the rate of investment being pumped by the banks, by the financial operator, especially the fintech. We have seen that the fintech industry in Nigeria is getting vibrant. And then we have also seen spate of some pockets of issues, attack, complaints, that is actually bordering on cyber issues. But however, when you consider the rate of investment and at the same time the rate at which the financial sector invests in capacity building in the context of the skill set and also in the context of the infrastructure, I think that has contributed substantially in being able to curtail the incidence of cyber criminality or threats. Now, if you also look at the awareness, one of the things that actually got me surprised when one of our staff companies actually got involved in UNECA adoption and onboarding, we discovered that somehow many of users and Nigerian stakeholders, there seems to have been the level of awareness on cybersecurity seems to be very high. Why am I saying so? Because when we started that program, when you send information to them for them to onboard, you discover that people are restraining themselves from hacking. Then when we dig further, we discover that people are actually aware that they have to be very careful in
Oh, seems to have some challenges with
logging or in clicking or have much information about.
All right, Ambassador Olubede, I quite appreciate the direction you are going with.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you. I'm afraid I would like to take a pause. I would like you to take a pause there so that we can. We've got the insights in terms of the awareness. We've got the insight in terms of how well Nigeria has been doing, which can be responsible. But I would like you to take a pause so we can come back and continue from that view. I'd like to quickly jump into another topic as related to from the overview of what Dr. Gibson presented. And this time around, I'll be asking someone else, and I'll be asking from another perspective entirely. I thank you, Ambassador Olubede. I'll come back to you. Please hold that view, and perhaps you had another one when I come back to you for follow-up question. I would like to ask from another perspective. And my friend Eric Kwam, you're going to be of help here. I want to please ask you, we've had more than 50% of cyber attacks targets public sector. So it will be important for us on this webinar to understand why. What safety precautions should government and financial institutions do to ensure online safety of the users? That's on one hand, and I would like to please link this to the second one. Considering the fact that human error accounts for up to 87% of data breaches, even in the region, West Africa region, what are the best approach you believe we should, professional organizations should embrace to reduce this menace? My friend Eric Kuman, please. Kwam, you have the floor.
Thank you, moderator. So, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you all right.
Thank you. So, first of all, I really appreciate the presentation Dr. Jimson did to give us a clear view of what is going on in Africa. I think what we should understand is that there are some we have to look for root causes. Most of this issue we are getting regarding the security across our countries. So I think one of the main reasons is around the policy issues, along the legal framework and the institutional mechanism. Because you will see most of our country, even though we try to have a kind of national strategy for security, most of the time, even those strategies are just have been developed maybe by one ministry, so most of the stakeholders are not really involved. So sometimes you will not even see the police or the defense ministry really involved. At the end, you have a national strategy. And also at the level of coordination, there is a lot of the lack of coordination is really killing the way we can really mobilize to make sure we have a good measure at the level of our institution. So I think that at the national level, public sector, financial institution, and telco company, when we are looking for a kind of national strategy, they have to work together. They have to work together and make sure we have a strategy where all the stakeholders are really involved, and not just a strategy we have in a one-side point of view, especially the digital ministry point of view.
Thank you so much, Eric. I pick from what you said, collaboration.
Yes.
We should not be working in silos.
Yeah.
We should ensure that whatever expertise you have can be enhanced by others, not just thinking that your own expertise is sufficient. I want to thank you for that contribution. I'll come back to you, and I'd like to, when I come back with another question, I would like to please expatiate more on this area where we can collaborate. Thank you so much for your intervention. I would like to invite the chief consultant himself, who participated in this research, to share more light in one of the statements he had made. And I would like to come back to Dr. Jameson. Considering that, arising from one of the points you have raised, and I would like to ask you this question: in fast tracking the prosperity of West African countries, the strategies must be designed to connect the unconnected population. Of course, we are, in terms of digital divide, we know where the challenge has been across the globe. So in designing this strategy to connect the unconnected population, do you think trust and safety are part of the issues delaying mass adoption of technology? Just in brief, quickly, Dr. Jameson.
Yes, thank you, moderator. Very briefly, and firstly, I want to indicate that the data used from the World Bank Open Data Platform and from the ITU Global Cybersecurity Index up to 2020. Well, with regard to the unconnected, I think, as Eric mentioned, it's a policy issue. Policy to use the Universal Service Provision Funds effectively, and then to ensure that cost of deployment is reduced. In Nigeria, for example, the government is doing a lot, especially the ministry, engaging the states, so that the cost of rights of way for deployment of fiber link infrastructure is significantly reduced, and that is commendable. We need to scale that across all our regions. That will enhance connectivity. The people trust the government to an extent, because if government bring a new service, the people will embrace it, and then you need to look at the penetration data. It's really galloping up. So that means there is cybersecurity maturity is embedded in a way in internet penetration. So it's a given. It's just that the government need to use those funding to provide the service. And the people have, I believe they have trust in the system.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jameson. Yeah, I think there's a bit of clarity now, because you touched it briefly. We just need you to clarify further on that. So there is trust, and we hold strongly to that. Eric, it's synced with what Eric has said earlier about building synergy, and all of us not working in silos. So one of the things that will help, that will advance this connectivity, is trust. Thank you. Following that, I would like to move to Ms. Jacqueline Ansinkote. Based on your experience, your wide travel and involvement in different projects across the sector and the region, I would like to ask you, please, in line with this research outcome, as presented by Dr. Jameson, it indicates that Africa's propensity comes with its own cyber challenges. So the question is, I'll link the two together. The first one, how best can West African nations prepare to foster these challenges? We have had various dimensions to the challenges, but the fact is there are challenges. So the first question, how best can West African nations prepare to foster this challenge? That's number one. Now, quickly related to it is, what approach has your organization, MTN, Ghana in particular, in a joint force with government, what measures have you specifically adopted? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I hope you can all hear me.
Oh, very well, we can.
It's an honor to be here again. So I think Very interesting research, Dr. Jimson. Thank you for this. It's really refreshing to see that those of us in private sector are not sort of just working to protect our company, but things are being done and discussions are being had on platforms like this to ensure that the entire nation states are taking an interest in cybersecurity as well. I think a number of things could be done. First, I would link it to what Eric said. Definitely foster collaboration and information sharing. Collaboration between government agencies, the private sector, other stakeholders, advocacy groups can help to identify and address emerging cybersecurity threats. And I believe governments can, across West Africa, can effectively put in information security platforms and partnerships to facilitate the sharing of threat intelligence as well as best practices. I think we'll benefit from developing a national cybersecurity strategy, even if not one for the entire sub-region as well. Establish a national cybersecurity center, always important. I think it can serve as a focal point for coordinating cybersecurity efforts across various government agencies and of course the private sector as well. It can also be responsible for monitoring and responding to cyber threats in real time, and obviously it will strengthen the collaboration that I spoke about. Governments can pass cybersecurity laws and regulations to protect its critical infrastructure, and of course sensitive data from cyber threats as well. These laws set standards for data protection. They will establish penalties for cybercrime, provide guidance on incident response and reporting, and obviously promote platforms for the discussion of these things, which I dare say would bring a greater emphasis or enhancement to that area. Definitely want to always go where the money is, invest in cybersecurity, infrastructure and technology. Governments come together, invest in infrastructure and technology to improve the ability to detect and respond to cyber threats.
Jacqueline, thank you. But fantastic presentation. But can you please touch on what MTN has done specifically?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Yeah. And just before I go to that, I'll say a month ago, I was on a CISO conference and talking about West Africa and Ghana spin. It was so difficult to find feedback or stats in terms of ransomware attacks and the like in the West African and Ghana space. So in terms of MTN, we have partnered very closely with the Cybersecurity Authority of Ghana. They do workshops to discuss the registration of critical information infrastructure, child online protection forums. We've participated in that with civil society organizations to discuss our role and the role of the Cybersecurity Authority. I think for the years, we've also participated in their monthly activities and nominated our staff to assist in their preliminary industry discussions. In April last year, MTN partnered with the Internet Watch Foundation and Meta, which is obviously previously Facebook, and we launched the Help Children Be Children campaign and the Safety Online Africa portal to step up the fight against distribution of child online sexual abuse material on the continent. I think we've also participated in other key child online forum discussions organized by UNICEF, National Crime Agency, and the Child Online Protection. I have been the forerunner in some of these discussions. Some key highlights: we've also done a lot of knowledge share sessions across students with secondary schools within the Greater Accra, the Ashanti and the Western regions. A lot of media engagements, especially in the month of October, where is the Cybersecurity Month. We do customer roadshows for our MTN customers, trying to create that awareness, that cyber awareness of how they should be safe, how they can keep themselves safe as well. Countrywide roadshows have been happening, and I think my favorite is going to the knowledge share sessions with the secondary schools. I mean, the interest is really there. I think we know that all our young people these days are on phones. They are steadily on phones, and they are interested not only in how to keep them safe, but I think about careers in this area as well. So
thank you, Jacqueline. There's something you said now that just struck me, and that is you mentioned the young ones, the ones in the school. Yeah. Very important, very quite impressive approach from MTN. And it is that particular one. Apart from every wonderful things you presented, this one I would like to emphasize on, and I would like another panelist to help us expatiate on that. And that is this cybersecurity skills of tomorrow. How do we sort the response to the current challenges existing in the cybersecurity sector within the region? And what are the incentives to ensure youth with a passion find this lucrative? To help us in this, I would like to call Raymond Mamata. I know you've done a bit of working with the young ones, and I would like you to please give us insight into this. What are the cybersecurity skills of tomorrow that we can involve these young ones in? Mr. Raymond, over to you, please. And thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you very much for the invite, and I'm grateful to AFICTA for the opportunity to share this stage with these great men and women. With regards to the cybersecurity skills of tomorrow, the most important one I consider is social engineering skills. Because no matter the mitigation strategies put in place, if you fall for any of social engineering tricks, all the mitigation strategies put in place are as useless as not having it at all at the first place. So I believe the most important skill is both professionals and individuals should have enough knowledge and skills on how to identify a social engineering trick that is being deployed on them and how to outwit such a bad actor. It is also said that one of the weakest links in cybersecurity are humans. And of course, we can put in all the technology measures, but if humans fall prey to any of the bad actors, indeed, it is as useless as not having it. So one of the most important tricks that I think, or the skills that I think is necessary, is ability to identify a social engineering trick that is being deployed on someone. And to talk about the incentives that are needed, I will mention that since Africa, we are in the lower income bracket in terms of our economic gains, I think it is important for us to make cybersecurity training affordable and the certification also very affordable so that a lot of the youth can go into it. When you have a chat with most of the youth, they really want to get more knowledge on cybersecurity and how to enter into the profession. But one thing that put them off is the cost that is associated with getting the certification and the rest. And one entity that is really making very good effort in ensuring people get trained and get certified in cybersecurity is the ISC2, that is presently having a project called 1 million certified in cybersecurity, and they are doing the training and the certification free for anyone who wants to take this very course. So for me, this is what I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raymond. That was very insightful, very, very instructional. And we'll please, the Secretariat should please take the website where we can find the website of the IC2 1 million cyber certification for free, so that we can enhance as many Africans as possible in this. Is one of the core 6 points that this webinar is supposed to address. So please, Mr. Raymond, if you don't mind, kindly provide us the link to the Secretariat so that we can make it public on the AFICTA website, and we can encourage. Thank you so much. I can see that already. You've raised a very good point about developing experts, the young ones. But how do we know what the industry wants? It's one thing for us to educate the youth of the skills of tomorrow, but what do the industries want? And the question to help us address this is Alhaji Abdulakim Ajijola. And I'd like to ask you, what are the main gaps between the competencies organizations seek and those that graduates possess upon completion of cybersecurity oriented vocational or tertiary studies? What are the remedies?
Okay.
Are there gaps? I know a couple of years ago in the government of UK, the office Ofsted had to sit down at the round table, bring in universities and businesses, and the Ofsted in the middle, trying to regulate what are being taught in the universities and what the industries want. In the same context, what competencies do organizations seek? What are we teaching cybersecurity? And what remedies can we adopt? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Before I get into the specifics of your question, I'd just like to, understand from reading of the reports and also from, the interventions of Dr. Jimson. Part of my takeaway is that A, we have limited resources across the continent. B, we have insufficient legal frameworks. C, we have relatively low awareness. And D, there's insufficient cross-border cooperation and collaboration. And I was very pleased to note that our brother Mokhtar Sek, from the UNECA perspective, also, kind of addressed this in terms of strengthening the legal frameworks, in terms of enhancing regional cooperation and the institutional mechanism that he mentioned in, I think, Togo is a prime example of the kind of thing we need. And certainly within that milieu is the capacity building, which we're now coming to. And, the beginning of that is the raising of awareness. So, one has to appreciate UNECA's insights and the initiatives that serve as a valuable guidance for West African nations as they work towards strengthening, their cybersecurity capacities. Now, in terms of addressing your question of what do organizations seek, what do they need? I think the very first thing is they need resource persons with practical experience. Integrating, so the remedy here is we have to be able to integrate internships, apprenticeships, work-study programs into the cybersecurity curricula as it currently exists. We need to enhance that. And we really need to engage students in practical projects, and case studies so as to enhance their, hands-on experience. The second area that I think industry and other, parts of the ecosystem, other players in the ecosystem need from their resource persons are up-to-date knowledge. And again, arguably the remedy for this is, regularly updating the curricula to reflect industry trends. I mean, a 3-year-old curricula, frankly, is a bit long in the tooth. We need to incorporate, input regularly from industry professionals because the cutting edge keeps moving forward quite rapidly. And we need to encourage ongoing professional development of the faculty, of the teachers themselves and the faculty members so that we can help ensure that students are learning the most relevant material. I think the third out of the 5 key areas I would point out is the need for specialized skills. And how do we do this? Well, we do need to offer specialized tracks. For example, the areas of cyber diplomacy, the areas of cyber crime, the areas of ransomware, these all come to mind. And certainly we do need to be able to provide elective courses within cybersecurity programs that allow students to develop expertise in specific areas of interest and better align their skill developments with industry needs. The fourth area is certainly for me is the soft skills. And in order to remedy this, in order to address this, we need to incorporate soft skills development into cybersecurity programs, such as through group projects, presentations, collaboration. I know some of the speakers earlier had talked about the communication. I mean, if you have the solution in your head and you cannot convey it to your client or to your superiors or to your colleagues, it may not be much use. And one of the ways of doing this is not just the presentations, but also the collaborative exercises that can help our graduates become well-rounded professionals. And last but not least here, I think we need to increase our focus on industry certifications. And how do we do this? We need to integrate certification preparation into our mainstream academic programs so that you can get a master's degree from a university, but at the same time, you can get industry professional certifications within the context of the same academic course. So we need to be able to offer these certification courses as electives to help students obtain industry recognized credentials, making them more attractive to potential employers. So in summary, sir, to address your question, we need to ensure the relevance of graduates in the cybersecurity job market. Our educational institutions, our government, the private sector, they do need to collaborate. Civil society, even the media need to collaborate to address these gaps. And frankly, this can be achieved through ongoing curriculum reviews, public-private partnerships, industry-informed course development, and promoting a culture of continuous learning and professional development. The area is dynamic, things keep moving, you cannot stay still.
I want to thank you so much, Alhaji Ajijola. That was a wonderful presentation. And I want to please remind participants that all the presentations by our different panelists will be available for viewing after the webinar is ended. And if you visit AFICTA website, you will have access to the presentations as given to us by the panelists. Thank you so much, Ajijola. I may come back to you depending on the time. I want to apologize to all our panelists because I'm just trying to cut it in bits and pieces to ensure that we are able to touch as many questions as possible across all our panelists. We don't have so much time, and I want to apologize to panelists that we're taking longer than we had envisaged. But we please, the topic is so wide that we can just wrap it up as we can just reach any topic or question that we quickly. I would like to move on to if you're around, I would need you to please give us an intervention here. In light of the outcome of the UNECA research on cybersecurity for development, it's reported an increase in cyber attacks. First and foremost, I want to ask if you agree with that. So please, if you agree with it, they want to ask, how best can West African countries improve their cybersecurity architecture? Like China, please.
Thank you, Tola. Can you hear me?
Sure, we can. Yeah, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Tola. And also thank you, Dr. Jameson, for your presentation. Regarding West African country, improving cybersecurity in African countries required a multifaceted approach, so that involves various stakeholders, including government, private sector, and individuals. Okay, so for me, and I'm aligned with Mrs. Jacqueline, the first thing first is to, for each African country, is to develop a national cybersecurity strategy. So in Cote d'Ivoire, we had our strategy, national cybersecurity strategy, since 2022. Okay, at the end of the year. So we develop it. So we start implementing the key point of the strategy. So each country should develop a comprehensive and national cybersecurity strategy that addresses the unique cybersecurity challenge facing the country. Okay, so the strategy should include, combat cybercrime, fighting against cybercrime, build capacity in cybersecurity, and also include a measure to protect critical infrastructure. The second point here is that each West African country can establish a dedicated national cybersecurity agency. And this, in Monday, our Minister of Digital Economy in Cote d'Ivoire announced that in the next month, the National Cybersecurity Agency of Cote d'Ivoire will start. Okay, it will officially start. So this agency is very important for each African country, as it will be responsible for coordinating and implementing the national cybersecurity strategy that I talked about in the first point. So this agency should work closely with other governments, okay, and private sector, and the other stakeholder, and even international partners. The third point here is to increase cybersecurity awareness. Awareness is an important point to strengthen West African infrastructure. So West African country can increase the cybersecurity awareness among the general public, and key stakeholders can include campaign to promote safe online practice and training program for government and private sector employees.
Thank you so much, Lakana. Thank you. It's so interesting. It's getting so sweet that we can just continue listening to you the way you are presenting it. Two key things you pointed out, and very instructive, is National Cybersecurity Agency establishment across all African states. And then you talk about awareness, very key if we are going to do that. And I'm coming back to you. Let me say, depending on time, I may come back to you. I don't know, but I'm checking the time. But I want to link this to what the question I've asked Ambassador Olugbile. I want to come back to Ambassador. Thank you, Lakana. I'll go to Ambassador Olugbile now. Rising from two key detailed from Lakana. Establishment of National Cybersecurity Agency in each of the countries, and continuation of awareness. Ambassador Olugbile, I want to ask, how can Africa regain about $19 billion lost to cybercrime within the last 10 years, according to the research, where 75% of this loss is believed to have emanated from email scams? What role will National Cybersecurity Agency and awareness play in this? How do we regain the $19 billion? Ambassador Olugbile, please. Have we lost Ambassador Olugbile?
He's with us.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yeah, Nigeria has actually done very well in the context of what I've been listening to, but in the context of what can be done to actually address the cyber, crime loss. I believe that the issue that is bordering on cybersecurity investment and financing, because if you look at the cost of acquisition of skills and the cost of getting tools and all that, we have always been communicating that cybersecurity is not charity. Those that hit cybercrime side, they are seeing cybercrime as a business. Many of them, it may not be all. And in the context of that, cybersecurity should be approached when we have a national policy and strategic framework. Now, Nigeria has already put in place frameworks on elevating and prioritizing cybersecurity industry. But the problem here is that how can we, facilitate or entrench incentives, financial incentives in the context of investment? So that is one aspect. I believe that if we put our effort into that, we can begin to regain some of the losses that we have within the, on the side of the cyber threat. Now, the second one is that we also need to learn from the traditional point of view. How do we set up a cooperative society for financing cybersecurity among the professionals? We have seen the movement of professional to academic environment, which is very good. Then how do we now begin to entrench a process where a financing model can be integrated as part of the strategy framework? So that is what I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. That's quite succinct. I know we can always tap into that. Very succinctly put, the best way to retake whatever we have lost is by taking more actions. And I would like to have an assessment as we begin to wrap up to wind down the webinar. I'd like to have by the way, for those in the audience participants, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask a question for a few minutes after all the panelists must have made their presentation. If you have a contribution or question, just note that you just keep it succinct, very short and direct. If it's a question, you can direct the question to any of the panelists you want, or you can throw it open. And if it's a contribution, kindly just know that you can begin to note the questions and just ask it succinctly. Thank you so much. I'll go back to Ms. Jacqueline. What is an assessment of what has been worked and what should be done better in terms of cybersecurity preparation in West Africa? Ms. Jacqueline, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think looking at what has worked, there are quite a number of things. I'll probably focus on about 3 of them for time's sake. I think many West African countries have developed and implemented national cybersecurity strategies to help guide their efforts and obviously protect their digital assets. So these strategies are typically outlining the roles and responsibility of the stakeholders, identifying key risks and vulnerabilities, and the like. For example, Ghana has developed a national cybersecurity policy and strategy to guide our efforts. It's helping us to sort of identify our risks, as I've said already, and establish measures to also mitigate these risks. I think collaboration has also increased among West African countries, as well as international partners. There's an information share and obviously share of best practices to coordinate responses to cyber threat. This has led to establishment of cybersecurity organizations such as the ECOWAS Cybersecurity Regional Agency, which is regional organizations like the ECOWAS and African Union have also put some frameworks in place and capacity building programs to promote cybersecurity cooperation. Policy development, I believe, is also ongoing in the region. National policies have been developed. These policies are also looking at responsibilities of the various stakeholders, and obviously to establish measures to mitigate against the arising risks. Increased awareness I see is also going on. I think there's been an establishment of a cybersecurity academy by the AU to provide training, cybersecurity training and education across the continent. I think these have worked, public-private partnership as well. There's increasingly governments are increasingly partnering private sector to promote cybersecurity in West Africa. And these have led to some establishment of some platforms, cybersecurity organization, obviously the sharing of expertise and information and development of new cybersecurity solutions. I think partnering, I think in this case, awareness is very important. And as the government partnerships between private organizations, like what we do with MTN in the road shows with the secondary schools, that's an example of a public-private partnership as well, where we are disseminating cybersecurity information, not only to keep people safe or give people the tools or the strategy to keep themselves safe, but also to pique the interest of the youth in exploring careers in cybersecurity. And as you can tell, for me, it will be personal because we need more women in cyber.
Thank you so very much. I was waiting for you. I know you are going to mention that. It's all, yeah, and you reserve it for the last shot. That's beautiful. I was wondering why you've not touched that in all your presentation. Thank you so much for that, your final submission. Anyway, it's been a pleasure listening to you. And I would like to link this up to the next one. We've talked about the young ones. We talk about the skills of tomorrow. What about the elderly and the vulnerable? There's a lot of people across Africa that cannot even use WhatsApp, cannot even use Zoom that we're using right now. I'll come back to Eric, please. What special measures and applications could be developed to protect the elders in cyberspace? Eric, please.
That is a quite, in Africa, I think first we need to regulate practice of, I mean, let's say the utilization of all those digital tools across our public administration. I think one of the things we can do at the beginning is just to make sure the people who has access to the key to the critical element are really aware. So that's why maybe an idea as having a pass for a digital transformation, a kind of passport where the awareness regarding the social engineering and a lot of practice, I mean, basic practice regarding the usage of digital tool in a public administration or in our in some critical company is very useful. So I think we have to look at it. The awareness, as mentioned, many of our panel here. So I think we can go far having some kind of pass, a kind of passport, and make sure those passports are kind of prerequisite to access some specific services. So that is what we can do, because at this stage we still have in many of our organization this issue of change, and the issue of change is also due to the fact that people are not really aware of what is going on, and the level of the technology is moving. It's really I mean, it's something we need to control. So I think in terms of control, there are some few things to do at the level of administration, having some clear education program in terms of making sure people are aware of what they need to use. They are aware of what is going on in terms of social engineering. They are aware of tools they have to use, and this is for me a good start at the level of administration.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eric. I'll take two quick final contribution and we go to the public. I'm very conscious of the time. I'm sorry I'm not giving everybody enough time. Very quickly, from everything that has been presented, Engineer, sorry, Alhaji Ajijola, final short in the very short, in a very simple time and short, how do Africa as a whole reap from the benefits of creating an innovative also solution and technology to counter cybersecurity? Very quickly, please.
1, invest in education and capacity building. 2, encourage research and development. 3, support local startup companies. 4, strengthen regional collaboration. 5, develop a robust legal framework. 6, promote public sector private partnerships. And 7, foster a culture of cybersecurity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that timely contribution. I can always trust you. And finally, and not the least, definitely, I'll go back to my brother from Ghana, Raymond. And I'll be giving you 2 tough questions, and I want you to do this in less than 1 minute, if possible for you. I want you to please take a look at what Eric has presented in terms of what we do with the elderly, and I wanted to please just touch 1 or 2 seconds on that, and now link it to Ghana in particular. The number of cyber attacks from 2020 for 10 years, covering 2011 to 2021, it accounts about 345 million attacks. What measures must be put in place to avoid skyrocketing figures of cyber attacks in the next decade? Very briefly, if you can do it in 1 second, I'll be glad. Over to you.
Thank you. With regards to the elderly, I think one of the tools that could be deployed is the various tools that are deployed should be user-friendly to the elderly, because they are not able to do strict technology applications like the youth. So we should take that into consideration, because without user-friendliness, there's no inclusivity. With regards to breaking the chain of more cyber attacks, I think the clarion call should be to make cybersecurity training from elementary to the tertiary institution very paramount, in that we should make it one of the courses or one of the subtopics in the IT courses, but it should be compulsory in all stages of education throughout Africa. I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you so much. That was very succinct. I want to thank all the panelists for the wonderful contribution we have listened to from you all. And I'll be wrapping this up. But before wrapping up, we'd like to hear from the audience, and we'd like to take one or two questions or contributions as you may deem it fit. And we'll just take a look. If you are interested in making contribution, asking questions, kindly just raise hand and we'll pick from those that have, we don't want to just pick random names, but if it is necessary, we'll pick one or two names. Let's start with the first person that has indicated the interest. Jonathan Gibbs, over to you, very quickly, please. Jonathan, moderator, can you unmute Jonathan, please?
Yeah, Jonathan, you can unmute yourself. You have the mic.
All right, while trying to struggle with that, you can always come back to that. Can we hear from Adedamola Adedayo? What's your question or contribution, please? Okay, seems they are having struggles in having to unmute themselves. SPO, can you please? Okay, Adedamola, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so considering the technicality involved in a discipline such as cybersecurity, what are the prospects for those who are should I call them non-science experts or enthusiasts? For instance, I'm from the discipline of arts. Okay, so if I decide to major to go into cybersecurity, what are my chances, or what are the opportunities I should be seeking out for?
All right, thank you for the question. So I hope we noted. So we'll note this and we just take responsibility. So the first one, for those crossing, I'll assign Dr. Lufuye to respond to this. We'll take others, then we start responding to everyone. Thank you, Adedamola. Jonathan Gibbs, is it open now? Is it a question? If you're able to speak, can you go ahead? Okay, if you're not able to. Okay, yeah, go ahead, please.
Shalom.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yes, you're speaking with Advocate Nsalba from South Africa. And thank you for the presentation. So one of the presentation was dealing with strategy, being what was called cyber diplomacy. And my interest in that is what would be the parameters that would inform cyber diplomacy. The second one, it was talking about, can I continue? The second one was talking about the skills. As Africa, and if we look at cybersecurity, the applications, the systems that we use determine how vulnerable you are. At what point are we considering capabilities, systems designed by African engineers to deal with African solutions so that the security features are known as part of the design features?
All right, thank you so much. Please, Alhaji Adejola, I hope you listen to that. We please assign you to provide response. Thank you. Third question is, who is there? Oluwatoyin. Oluwatoyin, are you ready? Quickly. Oluwatoyin, okay, if you're not ready, Emmanuel Nahala, are you ready? Can you unmute and ask a question, please?
Yeah, can I unmute? Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Right, my question is actually has to do with what the institution is doing concerning the practical enhanced practice, because I listened to the presentation and it was captured that there are a lot of areas where the Africa actually need to do more on research. But cybersecurity is beyond theoretical aspect. So my question is about the practical aspect. What is the institution doing about that? Training people on the practical aspect, the practical tools that will enhance reduction in cybersecurity crime in Africa. Cheers.
All right, thank you. Eric, please assign that to you. In what practical terms are we putting innovation together? Thank you. Nancy Rotig. Okay, if you don't get that, Ene Okon, and I'll take two more after this. Ene Okon, if you can unmute.
Yeah, I'm here. Good afternoon.
Please quickly, your questions, is question or contribution?
It's a question.
Okay, so very quickly.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Lady Jacqueline spoke about policies and frameworks that were put in place. I would like to find out the policies and frameworks that we Africans have developed on as that we can use to tackle this cybersecurity issue.
Thank you so much.
As guardians.
All right, thank you. Madam Jacqueline, you answer that question, please, when the time comes. Thank you. I'll take one more and we call it a wrap. One more questions. Who do we have? Who else has raised hand? Oluwatoyi Onolapo, are you still speaking? Or Nancy Rotich? Any of you that unmute quickly, they will take. Okay, if you don't have none from there, let me put on standby. We have three people that would like to speak. We have a representative of the Commandant of the Defense Cyberspace, Vice Admiral. If you're around, please, Vice Admiral, we would like you to speak. Dr. Wumi Hassan, please be on standby. We would like you to speak after all the questions. And we have Professor Sinaji. We would like you to speak when the questions have been answered. Dr. Jim Tolufe, your question, please. Response to the question, please.
Okay, thank you very much. What do we need to do for those that are in arts to get to cybersecurity? What you need, the key thing you need is passion. If you have passion, you have the interest, then you can start from elementary level and you can scale high. So that is just basically what you need. And in terms of getting the skills, there are a number of resources that have been shared, and there are a number of institutions also providing courses in cybersecurity, like you have the National Open University in Nigeria, a number of universities also offering cybersecurity diploma and up to graduate and postgraduate level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, please. Can we have you next? I like Jajijola.
Yes, let me start by building upon what Dr. Jimson has said. For the arts professional to get into cyber, passion is foundational. My own experience is that most of the best cybersecurity professionals have had a history in mathematics, in history itself, and philosophy. And what ties these three things together is actually logic. So you must have a logical mind. I think this is the key thing. And of course, that logical mind must be rooted, as Dr. Jimson correctly said, in passion. In terms of cyber diplomacy, I think we need to understand that Africa needs a generation of cyber diplomats. Right now, there are ongoing discussions at the UN. In fact, the UN has produced 11 norms. Norms are soft laws. Africa's voice needs to be there, and we've not reached the critical mass. So this is a major need that we have. In terms of African security solutions, yes, we do need to look at Africa, an African security by design. And essentially, this boils down to innovation. Many Africans are extremely innovative. And so we have to look at the practical application of the results of research and development in the African context. And then in terms of the policy and frameworks, I just wanted to mention that the African Cybersecurity Expert Group is actually right now in the process of developing an Africa-wide cybersecurity strategy. And indeed, immediately after this intervention, I have to review and submit some preliminary papers on this specific initiative. So it's actually a work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Sorry, which question? Because
okay, you missed that. Okay, not to worry. We got cyber diplomacy. Ambassador Lugbele, can you help us with question on cyber diplomacy? Very quickly, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, can you hear me, please? Just to be sure. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. One of the best way to get engaged in cyber diplomacy is to start with internet governance. So internet governance provide a platform and at the same time a knowledge hub where you can have access to various programs, activities, and then learn the principles of internet governance, activities and those that are behind it and the role that you can play. So the cyber diplomacy actually starts from there, where you can also engage, at the international level, even right here in your own country. I think that's for me, that's the beginning of the learning process.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Laikana, the final word, and we request contribution from the floor. Laikana?
Yes, my final word about the question of a standard final word.
Yes, final word.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity to talk about this subject. So I think that West Africa must invest more and more in cybersecurity and also invest in research and development. Okay, because I think that one day African must have their own solution developed by African here. So this is my final word. So let's dream, and I think that in 5 or 10 years we will make it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jimson. Final word, and we open the floor to the three people who want to contribute.
Okay, I guess there are some questions that are yet to be responded to. I'll just quickly respond to them. Someone talking about how do we get more homegrown solutions. I think organizations need to engage African expertise, just like UNECA is engaging local expertise on this research. You need to do more of that. And there was a question on some practical policies, that can be used, or maybe a guide. UNECA has this model law on cybersecurity, which Dr. Makta mentioned earlier. So having said that, I want to really say that we need to invest more in the cybersecurity, because offline security is very, very important. If there is no security offline, there can be no progress. There can be no economic progress. Likewise, regard to online security, because a lot of our activities are moved online, and the United Nations have said that whatever happens offline, or applies offline, also applies online. So let's our decision makers focus more on offline security. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Jameson, and every participant. In 1 minute, I would like to please take on the following participants. Well, before that, let me say that all the questions that have been raised on the channel, on the chat group, like I received from how is participation in global IGF enabled as experts if that channel is viewed as a route into the UN expert platform? All those questions, we will respond to them, and I want to thank Ambassador Lugbele for dropping a couple of useful websites into the chat platform. If you have Professor Sinaji on the panel still, can you please make a final contribution, 1 or 2 minutes, please? Professor Sinaji.
Kindly raise your hand so I can identify and unmute you.
Prof, if you can unmute. Okay, as Prof is trying, okay, he has raised his hand. Can you please unmute him, SPO?
Right, done.
Okay, Prof, the floor is yours. Just a minute, please.
Thank you very much, the moderator. Thank you also the panelists and participants. Yes, this is an important topic. At least we've seen the link between cybersecurity, readiness, and development. And so what I would say is just that the countries can elaborate their digital transformation strategies with emphasis on cybersecurity at all levels, including the proposals that have been given, such as creating awareness, building capacity at all levels of learning, and also taking cybersecurity as crucial and enabling everybody, including the old, to be able to safely use online resources. And also, we cannot fail to emphasize collaboration, including in the Malabo Convention, and also regional cybersecurity centers to address the issues that may arise. The Cybersecurity Center is like the one mentioned by Dr. Makhtar in Togo. I thank you for the opportunity to make some reflections. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have listened to you. Can we have Mrs. Wumi Hassan, please? Dr. Hassan.
I'm not sure we still have him. Heather, I'm not sure she's still with us.
Okay, it's not a problem. Do we have a representative of the commandant of the DSA? Okay, I think Vice Admiral had dropped off, I'm afraid. Having exhausted all the conversation we had to cover, I want to thank everyone present, from the panelists to participants. It's been a very robust contribution, and I must congratulate Dr. James Olu for the research you had led and brought forth a very inclusive conversation among West African or even at large African continental contribution. On the note, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to moderate this session, and I want to apologize to those that are not able to make contributions, and especially for taking longer than we had envisaged. We have shot over for about 30 minutes, which was not envisaged from the beginning. I would like to call on, as I wrap up this session, I would like to call on Mr. Chairman to close the webinar for us and bring the session to a close. Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, Afikta, please.
And please, participants, we want you to participate in the survey that is on our screens. Kindly answer those. You can answer them anonymously. Your information is not going to get to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated, Tola. And this session was very much an insightful session. And I think the discussions actually pointed out to some of the critical aspects around policy. There was a large voice that spoke about capacity development. Capacity development from both the perspective of awareness as well as professional development in pushing this particular subject forward, in that in as much as one can put a lot of cybersecurity interventions without capacity development, all of that is in vain. I also heard a large cry around solutions that are Afrocentric with regards to the topic at hand, which are very items that I think we need to actually take to heart and also continue with the discussions. I'm looking at the chart. Thank you very much for the contributions. I also saw some of the free courses. If you can distribute that widely as well amongst your colleagues to make sure that they are aware of this and they can also get into this profession for those who are interested and maybe they've got a challenge with training itself. I would like to put my special thanks to Tola for it's a great moderation and facilitation of this session. Much appreciated for that. Also, thanks for the leadership on Western Africa for putting this together and arranging everything to actually go smoothly. Much appreciated to the panels. The panelists were excellent. I think they actually shared a lot of wisdom. This is a wisdom that you could take a long time to get if you do not have the right people in the room. And they just shared it within an hour. We are now empowered as a people. Much appreciated for that. Thanks for everyone who attended. Please let's also participate in the webinar survey. There's a survey that has gone through. We are gathering the information. We are moving towards at least having more of quantitative information about this subject. So please participate in that. And as you want to participate more in other interventions, I think there is an Internet Government Forum, IGF, that has been posted here, and also AFICTA. Be a member for those who are not yet members so that we can actually participate further, and for you to also be on the driver's seat on the topics that are at your heart for your specific country or region. Ladies and gentlemen, we highly appreciate your contribution into this webinar. I thank you.
Maybe you can have group photo for everybody in the attendance. If you can turn on your camera or video, yes. Secretariat, can you, are we on?
Okay, yeah, I can see people are joining. Okay, so I'm about to take the photograph. Okay, Laikana is trying to join.
You can turn on your video.
I'm on. Okay, so I'm about to take it. 3, 2, 1, 0. So I got it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye now. Bye everyone. Thank you for the time.
Thank you everyone. God bless.
Bye everyone.
Bye.